What Is It Like to Be a Bart is a 1974 paper by Thomas Nagel. The main thesis of Nagel is to argue that while it is possible for us to study the physiology of bats and to know everything about bats, we can know that bats are nocturnal creatures that like to be awake during the night and to sleep during the day. They feed on insects. They don't have very good vision. They rely on echolocation, which is a lot like how sonar works. And while it is possible for us to know many things about bats, still it is impossible for us to know what it feels like and what it is to live life like a bat. Let's give another example. Let's say there is an alien that comes from a different planet and comes to visit us. We meet the alien and find out that the alien is similar to us in many ways. The only difference is that while we have 5 senses, the alien has only 4 senses. The alien is not capable of experiencing taste. So we can invite the alien around and start to tell it about everything that happens in the human body when people put sugar or salt in the mouth. You can speak about what happens at the level of the tongue, at the roof of the mouth, the throat, the processes that happen in the brain. You can tell the alien everything there is to know about what happens when you put salt or sugar in your mouth. Still, at the end, do you think that the alien would know what it feels like to put honey in your mouth, or sugar, or chocolate, or anything, or to taste anything? The alien would know all the technicalities, would know everything there is to know about tasting food. But this would not allow the alien to experience taste and to know what we experience when we taste food. This is the main thesis in What Is It Like to Be a Bart? Nagel wants to argue that first-person experiences are impossible to reproduce through third-person perspectives, no matter how accurate your explanations are. We can push this a little further and say that even amongst us human beings, we are not sure we experience things in the same way. And the best example I have found to defend this is that people taste food differently. For example, I love beet, but I know a lot of people who hate it. This should push us to wonder if people go through the same experience when they taste beet. Because for me, if people went through the same experience that I go to whenever I taste beets, they would all love it. So how can we explain that some people like certain foods and others don't like them, or dislike them, or even hate them? It is possible to argue that even our experiences are unique and are impossible to replicate or reproduce. After What Is It Like to Be a Bart, Nagel uses his thesis to defend the idea of panpsychism. Panpsychism being the concept that everything in the universe is conscious. But Nagel does not use his thesis from What Is It Like to Be a Bart as his first argument. Now, the first argument Nagel uses is that everything in the universe is made out of the same material. If broken down far enough, we are all made out of atoms and molecules. So it is here very legitimate to see that if we are all made out of the same thing, why should we think that we are conscious and other things that are made out of the same material are not conscious too? I am made of the same material that makes a pillow, or a table, or a chair, or a lamp. So why should I suppose that I am conscious and those other things are not conscious too? The second argument Nagel uses is that mental properties are real but are impossible to explain away through processes and chemical secretions that happen in our body. Now let's go back to the example of the alien. Do you think that after sitting with the alien for a long time and telling it about everything that happens in our bodies when we put sugar or salt in our mouths, do you think at the end the alien would be able to know what it feels like to taste something sweet or something salty? No, of course no. So this is suggestive that even if rocks and paper and pillows and everything were conscious, it would be impossible for us to understand how they are conscious, just as it is impossible for the alien to understand what it feels like to taste sugar and salt. After that, Nagel attacks emergence, and he wants to replace it with non-emergence. Emergence is the idea that elements that lack complexity can come together and give rise to something complex. For example, the human being is a complex being because it is conscious, but the organs that make this human being, the heart, the brain, the intestines, the stomach, all those organs lack complexity, lack consciousness. They are not conscious, but when they come together, they give rise to something conscious. Something conscious emerges. So this is an example, one example of emergence. Nagel attacks that and says that emergence doesn't make any sense because there is no causality, and he wants to replace it with non-emergence. And he says that if the end result is complex, the elements conducive to this end result, or the elements that constitute the end result, must be conscious as well. So in this situation, organs, the hearts, the intestines, the stomach, the liver, everything, all those organs have consciousness too, because us humans are conscious. This is non-emergence. It creates a relationship of causality between the elements that come together and the end results that emerges. By the same logic, if we are made out of the same material, atoms and molecules, those atoms and molecules have complexity themselves if they are able to create something complex as a human being. And when those elements come together and create the human being, they also come together and create and give rise and constitute other things that are too conscious. This is how Nagel defends panpsychism, but he doesn't go all the way to say that what he advances is evidence that panpsychism is correct. He just says that with all this information, it is only wise to leave the door open for the possibility of panpsychism. Now this video has reached its end. If you liked it, thumb it up. If you disliked it, thumb it down. What do you think matters? You might also want to subscribe for future videos. And until we meet again, have a great day.